Vanya's resolute grace the day Vanya was to bring her first kill back to camp was drawing ever nearer. Vanya was diligently practicing with the bow. Hespera and Vega admired her movements as she shot. Her movements were different from Vega's or Hespera's, just as fluid and graceful, yet something else was at play. It was her pride in having come this far. Edgar had always believed in her. Now she believed in herself and in Charlotte, to whom she owed her life. The destiny, Vanya's hunt 3 days later, just before dawn, the air in the valley was fresh and cold. Vanya felt the excitement and the immense pressure weighing on her, but also an unshakable calm. She was now a hunter. Vega and Hespera were waiting outside the great yurt. Vega gave Vanya a brief nod, a gesture that spoke louder than 1,000 words. Hespera gently placed her hand on Vanya's shoulder. "Do you remember Edgar's lesson? Just for you, Vanya. Just for you." Edgar and Electra stepped hand in hand into the dawn. "The dawn is your friend, warrior," Edgar said with a smile that masked his sadness. Electra embraced Vanya tightly. "You know what to do, Vanya Thalora." Vanya took up her bow and a quiver full of arrows. The 3 women set off, their movements synchronized and silent. Vanya led the way. She felt the earth's anchor beneath her feet and the cosmic hum of the Eliari forces in her blood, helping her detect the slightest movement in the forest. She wasn't just searching for prey. She was searching for her prey, the one that would seal her new identity. She led Vega and Hespera deep into a barely explored part of the valley. After hours of silent trekking, they stopped at a small stream. Vanya raised her hand. In the thicket, about 30 paces away, stood a young stag, strong and unwary. It was exactly the animal she needed. Vega and Hespera stepped aside, giving Vanya space. Vanya breathed deeply and evenly, feeling the weight of the bow and the coolness of the arrow in her hand. She didn't think of Edgar, Electra, or the clan. She thought only of Charlotte and the survival she owed her daughter. She drew the bow. The string creaked almost inaudibly. She held her breath, took aim, and released. The arrow flew with deadly precision. The birth of the Thalora, the second prey. Vanya signaled and sent her companions back with a curt gesture. "Stay back. I'll go on alone. Wait for my signal." She used every bit of cover, watching every silent step. The forest floor was still damp enough to muffle any sound, yet Vanya moved as if she weren't touching the earth itself. Concentration made the Eliari powers pulse in her blood, the hunter's fever extinguishing every other sensation. Then she stood ramrod straight and still. Like a tree waiting for the edge of the forest. She studied the narrow strip of woods before her. Gently, she drew another arrow from her quiver, nocked it, and drew her bow with clockwork precision. The face of the legend to her right, in her peripheral vision, she noticed a movement, the ripple of shaggy, long fur. A huge, magnificent stag moved toward them, head lowered. Unmistakably the leader of the herd. Vanya reacted instinctively, without the slightest hesitation or a second of fear. She turned fluidly toward the animal and released her arrow from the bow. The huntresses and hunters waiting behind cover held their breath. The arrow struck with great speed, piercing deep into the stag's chest. Right in the center that only a true Krishan, warrior's soul, knows. The stag took 2 or 3 staggering steps and then collapsed. A final gasp, a flick of the tongue, a look into dying eyes. Blood trickled from the stag's mouth, one last breathless movement, and then silence. Vanya slowly lowered her bow, knelt down, and placed her hand on the animal's moist, warm flank. In a deep, guttural voice whispered into Tupshan, she said, "Shalai vez heiress t. Amen ka Thalzar." "Thank you, life of the deer. Blessed be Thalzar." Vanya stood up again. The men who had watched the spectacle still remained, some frozen in their crouches. Vanya hadn't flinched when the mighty animal charged at her. Calm and proud, she stood beside her prey. She slowly lowered one tip of her bow to the ground and looked toward the other hunters. Vega and Hespera, who were now approaching, couldn't take their eyes off Vanya. The darkness of her pupils seemed to glow in the twilight.